I think it was my second job while I was in college, working at a Safeway grocery store. I'm not even sure how many Safeways are still around. This was been a couple of minutes ago, about 25, almost 30 years now. But I remember when the store manager would come to me and he would say, I need you to uh, bring out several cases of corn or peas or whatever it was, and I need you to build a display right here on the end of this aisle. And he would come back later, and I would have all 10 cases as he requested stacked up there, all 10 of them cut open as opposed to the bottom ones cut open, the bottom one's still sealed and the top one's open. I would have every single can facing the outside. There'd be a nice little sign on it telling what the sale is, and then every single can priced, and the whole 9 yards. And I remember after I'd been there several months, he came to me one day and he said, I need you to do something for me, but I need you to do it as quickly as possible. And I thought, well, that's kind of an unusual comment because I always work fast. I always work with a sense of urgency. I want it done like right now. But he said, I said, do you mean I work too slow? He said, no, you don't work too slow. You just work too long on the same thing. I said, okay, I thought that was diligence. I thought it was doing your job. And he brought up the can display as an example. He said, most people that I tell, even some of my better employees that I would tell to make that can display, they would go get the boxes on a dolly, bring the entire stack out, put it in the corner, yank the dolly out from under it, and maybe open the top case of cans so you could see them. They may or may not turn all the faces out. They probably wouldn't. I'd have to send them back to do that. But they'd be done with that project, that assignment, in 10 to 15 minutes. He said, your display looks incredible with all of the boxes open and all of the cans facing out and all of them with labels on them and all of them with their little sign on the top. And that's incredible. That's great. But it took you 2 hours. And what I need you to do is a project, but just make it a task. Instead of a project that takes 2 hours to get it perfect from top to bottom, beginning to end, inside and outside, I need you to do a task. And the task would be somewhere between my rushed employee who wants to jack it up on a dolly and bring it out of here and then walk away from it, and the results that you have right now. And I thought, it seems to me like mine is perfect. I've gone all out. I've done 110%. Why would you want me to do it the kind of halfway way? He said, well, it's not really that I want the halfway way. It's just that I have other things that I want you to do. And so I need you to see this not as your assignment, not even as a project, but as a task. So you can finish this task and move on to the next task because your assignment includes all of them. I need you to do more than one thing is what I'm saying. And so while you're on shift for 2 or 3 hours, rather than spend the entire shift doing that, I need you to be able to do all of those things. You might remember the second Karate Kid film. Probably one of the most famous scenes because it was in the trailer and it was pretty powerful. Was when the kid was doing his katas on the bridge. And Mr. Miyagi tried to stab him with a stick. And as he lunged forward with the stick, he fell over and almost went in the water, but he grabbed the stick, the staff, I guess is what you call it, on the way down. And so he was hanging over the water. And he's smiling. He's happy. He's like, I caught it. You didn't knock me in the water. And so Mr. Miyagi pulls him back up and he looks at him and he said, but your focus needs more focus. The tasks that you're working at need more attention than you're giving them because you're kind of coasting through the tasks. And if it takes multiple tasks to complete a project, but you're not giving your attention to your tasks at the right level, with the right intensity, with the right concentration, with the right focus, then all those tasks added together might end up in a kind of a project. And if your projects, all of them together, are kind of then what is your assignment like? The thing that you've been put on earth to do requires focus. We sometimes think we're going to focus on one thing through everything else, and the challenge with that is really simple. That is, when we focus on so many things, we aren't focused at all. That's why they train a lion with a multi-legged stool, because the lion can't focus on more than two things at a time. His attention gets diverted. His vision gets confused. We all have the same problem. And when our attention is diverted and our vision is confused, we can't accomplish the task at hand, which means the tasks that add up to a successful project won't be accomplished, which means the projects which complete our assignment won't be accomplished. And the things that we're put here on earth to do get kind of swept aside as we deal with the daily problems of life. Maybe I'm the only one who gets caught up in the things like the bills and the timing of paying the bills and the mowing of the lawn and the weed eating around the fence and that kind of stuff. Maybe I'm the only one that gets distracted by that stuff, but I think there are probably others. That's why you find some of the most successful people, unless they find yard work therapeutic, they pay someone else to do it. And there are plenty, especially very successful and wealthy people, who find working in their garden, working in their yard, mowing their yard, to be a therapeutic thing. It's kind of the cathartic. They get to get away from the world and only care about what kind of grass is growing right now. Totally cool. For me, though, the time that it takes to get out the lawnmower, get out the weed eater, spend the time in the yard, trim the trees, rake the leaves, all that kind of stuff, I feel doesn't therapeutically benefit me, but instead it's a distraction to the other things that I need to get done. How do you do with the tasks versus the projects versus the assignment that you're here for? Have you figured out your assignment yet? Do you understand how your gifts and talents, maybe you remember from last video, we talked about convergence. Convergence is when your gifts and your talents, your acquired skills, your personality traits, and endurance all come together to create the who that you will be for the rest of your life. And some people, those acquired skills, that education time happens while they're in college. For some, it happens after college because their pursuit of finance is more important than their pursuit of their gifts and talents, of their who that they were made to be. I know a lot of people who went to college and got a great degree and they have a great job and they make a lot of money and they're miserable. I also know a lot of people who are doing exactly what they're made to do and they're so at peace it's disgusting. That's meant to be humorous, in case you didn't know. They're so comfortable in what they do that money's not even an issue. They're just ecstatic that they get to do what they love to do. They get to do what they naturally excel at. They get to do what they're really, really here for. And the amount of money they make doing it isn't relevant to them. I think there's a happy medium between those. And if you're one of those who has found your assignment and money just seems to follow you doing what you're doing without asking for it, without begging for donations, without a paycheck every day, if that's where you are, then you're doing pretty good. You're right in the center of your design. And if you have that job where you can stuff the bank with lots and lots of funds and then use your hobby time, your weekend time, your evening time to do what you love to do because it's all paid for and it's no concern, that's awesome. I do find, though, that the majority of the American people that I run into are somewhere between those two. They're still broke enough that they can't take time off of their regular job to do what they want to do as a hobby or a weekend pleasure, but they're still striving and working to pay the bills as well. That's where I find most people. In the refinement of the who that you are and the things that you do, maybe it's worth an analysis to sit down and ask the question: am I turning every task into a project? Am I taking on tasks and projects that have nothing to do with my assignment? Am I taking care of the worldly necessities so I can focus on what I'm really here to do later? Do I focus enough on the task at hand to complete it with excellence in a reasonable amount of time so I can move on to the next task so that the project will be complete? And finally, do I have tasks that I'm taking on that should have been delegated to somebody else? Are there projects that I've tried to complete on my own that really require a team? Is the assignment that I'm made for to be part of a larger team to accomplish it? And am I trying to do all that on my own because I don't want to delegate or share the authority or share the glory when it's done? I think you'll take some time and ask those questions today, and maybe even make those a litmus test of the tasks that you take on. Is this part of a project? Is it part of my assignment? Is there someone to whom I could delegate it? Is there someone who could do it better than me? And will this eventually lead me to the completion of the assignment for which I'm here? If you'll keep asking those 5 questions, I think you'll find yourself spending more time on the things that really matter rather than taking every task that comes at you. Or like me, taking each task and making it a project and therefore leaving the overall assignment undone. I hope you'll take some time and ask those questions today. I'm J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.